All right, welcome everyone to the City Council meeting for Monday, November the 8th. If we could have a roll call to establish quorum, Madam Clerk.
Adams Lane.
Here.
Terry McClung.
I'm here.
Melissa Green.
Here.
Joel Ott.
Here.
Harry Meyer.
Yeah.
We have 5.
All right, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And get a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Any additions, corrections?
I'd like to, in new business, I'd like to move number 1 up to the top of unfinished business, in case we elect someone, and maybe put them on tonight, start breaking them in. Let them join the fun.
Get a second on that.
I'll second that.
Have anything else? All in favor of those approving the amended agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. Get a motion to approve the minutes for October 25th.
So moved.
Second. All right, Mr. Ott moved and Mr. McClung second. Any additions, corrections? No. Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, under our commission reports and expired terms, we have several vacancies. We've got vacancies in the Planning Commission at CAPC. We got one on the Parks, and we also have an applicant from Jonathan Teagan that's in your packet for consideration.
You know, they're down 3. I've read his gentleman's resume. He's been here almost 20 years. He's got some really good history. I'd like to just kind of suspend our usual rules and go ahead and nominate him for position 7.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion from anyone?
I don't see.
Talk to him first.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. We have 4-1.
4-1.
Yep.
All right, we will get Mr. Teagan on board and swear him in. We also have an application for renewal from Randy Maddox for position 1 for HDC, Historic District Commission.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Randy Maddox to position 1 on the HDC.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. We'll notify those people and get them back on. All right, this comes to our public comments, and please limit your time to 3 minutes if we have any. And we have 0. All right.
Yes.
Well, that brings us up to our revised agenda nomination for a new council vacancy. In your packet, you have, let me find it here. We got an application by Nicholas Roberts and where's my other?
David Avancino.
David
Avancino.
Aventino.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, would you like to come up and say anything?
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here this evening, an honor to be considered, and I really look forward to helping the city move forward and making quite... Oh, can you not hear me? Is that better?
That's better.
I have a lot of ideas that I really think could be very beneficial to our town. I've been here almost 10 years, and I've had lots of experience and heard firsthand from a lot of tourists and locals on what some of our problems and things are that we could resolve, and I would love the honor to be considered for this.
Thank you. Mr. Avancino, would you like to say a few words?
Hello, everyone. First of all, congratulations. He's a friend of mine as well, so I think you have two very good candidates. Like he said, there's a lot of change that is coming into Eureka Springs, and I personally feel that with change comes progress, or you can flip that around and say with progress comes change. I think that our tourists, and our locals especially, need to be listened to and accounted for, and I think you guys have done a really good job of doing that, and I'd like to keep up the motion that's going. So whoever you pick to nominate, good luck.
Thank you. Actually, I guess I need a motion now if we want to discuss the nominations. Get a motion to discuss.
I make a motion that we discuss.
Get a second.
I'll second.
All right. Comments from council?
Should we go to executive session to do this? No?
No, we're not employees.
Not for voting.
Okay.
Voting will be in public. That's the ballots that you have in front. You do need to sign your ballot. We won't
It's-
be reading them, but they will
All I've
be
got
on
to say,
file.
it's too bad Caitlin didn't show up. Would have been nice to have three here, but we got a couple of them, so.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
I'll say something.
Sure.
I so appreciate both of you guys for doing this and putting your name in the hat and having the gumption to do this, because it is not something that's easy, and it's not something that is traditionally rewarded. So thank you both, truly.
I too have spoken with both of them. Excellent, excellent choices, and I hope whoever doesn't will consider we have a spot on the CAPC or one of our other commissions, because I think you're both valuable
Did you pass them down?
citizens.
I gave you 3 for those kids and 2 for those kids.
You did?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kids.
All right.
This
Sorry.
is for round 2. actually, in case
I got 3, so. Did I
All
get the
right.
right?
Anybody else have any comments or
Yes.
questions?
Okay.
If not, is the council ready to vote?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, if you would sign your person that you would wish to be on the council, sign your name on the back and pass them down.
I got this thing in my ear, buddy.
Oh, now I know how to torture Harry.
Yeah. Put your phone real close to your mic, that helps.
David Avancino. Nick Roberts. Nick Roberts. I think there's one.
There's
I got one here.
Thank you.
Oh.
Nick Roberts. Thank you. And Nick Roberts. 4 for Nick, 1 for Dave.
Congratulations, Nick Roberts. You are the winner.
I'd like to take a 5-minute recess and swear Mr. Roberts in, and I'd like to extend please, David, think about the CAPC.
Please think about the CAPC.
Yeah. See, you got 2 supporters.
All right,
Just
get a
don't
motion
think about
to
it,
adjourn for 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Did somebody second that motion?
No.
I need a second to adjourn.
So we can,
Second.
all right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Roberts, if you would like to come up here.
Butcher, come, you can stand there. Yeah.
All right, just raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Nicholas Roberts,
I, Nicholas Roberts,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City Council
of City Council
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Well, come sit.
They're going to be over here.
Do we have an extra agenda for him?
Did you get a magic folder for tonight?
I'll come up with one.
Okay.
And then print your name, address. And we'll make a copy of this.
Actually, I do not have an extra.
I can share with him.
You're so sweet.
I know, I can be nice. Makes them happy.
For now.
Those up.
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
Your night's tonight.
Yeah, I'm nice.
That's why I put it out there.
Oh, we got a full packet. Whoa, you're in the big time now.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Butch.
You got to memorize everything.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
There will be a pop quiz.
yeah.
All right. I want to thank David, thank you for putting your name in, and, and I appreciate Nick doing the same thing, because this is, part of public service, and that's something we need a lot of people and young people to come in and start doing that, so I appreciate both of y'all volunteering to do it, so. And it's been mentioned, we have other places open for you too, so please participate. All right, get a motion to reconvene.
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
All right, I guess all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us up to our unfinished business, which is ordinance 2314 to vacate portion of Owl Street on the third reading. Get a motion to discuss.
I'll move that we discuss ordinance number 2314 to vacate portion of Owl Street.
Second.
All right. Does anybody have anything new or anything they want to discuss on this? Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2314 by title only for its third final reading.
I second.
Mr. McClung made a motion to suspend the rules and read this ordinance by title only, and Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion?
Okay.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ott?
Yes, aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
6-0. Ordinance number 2314, an ordinance vacating a portion of Owl Street in Riley and Armstrong.
I get a motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll
Mr.
make
McClung?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2314 to vacate portion of Owl Street on its third reading.
I'll second that.
All right, Ms. Green made the motion, and Ms. Lane seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Ott?
Aye.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
6-0.
All right, so moved. Okay, that brings us up to ordinance 2315. It's sound generation and approved music festival. Get a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
All right, anybody? Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that you suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2315 by title only for its second reading.
Second.
All right.
May I?
Madam Clerk?
Okay. When you look at what you have in front of you, you'll notice that there are a couple of things highlighted in yellow, and I added those, and I'm hoping that you will amend it to accommodate these things. When we went through it the first time, it became apparent that there was a numeric error, which has been corrected, and it also became clear that some folks didn't understand what applied to only C1 and C2, which you see in Section 2, and quiet use commercial on the back, C3, doesn't qualify. So I thought that for those who are not familiar with this and were struggling, this would make the line clearer.
Okay.
So my request is for amending what you heard 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Mayor, can we go ahead and approve my motion, and then we can discuss?
Yeah. We got a motion and a second, so do we need to vote for it?
Oh, the way Terry is suggesting is beautiful.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved.
Didn't
I'll
speak.
make a motion that we accept the
You amend the ordinance as...
amendment ordinance as it is.
All right, we got a motion to amend the
Second.
ordinance as submitted, and second by Mr. Green. Any further, Mr. McClung?
Yes, Ms. Clerk, could you repeat that one more time on the changes and what the purpose is,
Yes.
so everybody's clear on it? Thank you.
When Ms. Lane was away, she noticed there was a numeric error in the definition number. It really is 7.16.01.
Right.
So that's the first thing you see highlighted. In 704, restrictions, because it's only in C1 and C2 that restaurants with outdoor seating can get the opportunity for that amplified sound to 85 decibels. That's why I went ahead and listed that. And then on the back, where it talks about residential in C3, they operate within the same sound restriction of 60 decibels. So that's why NC3 has been added to what's on the back, Section 3, residential and C3 zoned areas.
So just to be clear, there are no time restrictions in this?
Time?
Yes, like, the only time restriction I'm seeing is for the approved music festivals.
That's what this whole thing is
Yeah,
about.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's not about them.
No time at all, okay.
Well, yes, midnight.
Okay, so all of this is midnight?
Approved music festivals, the 85 decibel limit would end at midnight.
Okay, okay.
And it does not affect the other
Ordinances pertaining to
Right.
this?
This is just a section.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Ott?
thank you.
I'm sorry.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ms. Lane, did you have something?
I said just thank you.
Mr. Ott?
Sorry.
Question, the approved music festivals, I'm not seeing it here, it's probably on the other document that we had, but does an approved citywide music festival have to include city property for it to be a citywide music festival?
Yes.
Is that a different document than this?
No?
Where does that say that in here?
Right under definitions, officially approved music festival.
That's what I'm saying about the music festival, citywide music festival. Because a lot of times you can have a citywide music festival and not have any music in a municipally owned
Right.
piece of property.
But it's not a city festival. It's just a citywide festival.
And this is an official approved music festival.
So how would you does a citywide music festival need approval to be under this?
It's a different animal.
This is an official approved music festival, which is separate ordinance.
Okay, but there's an ordinance that would have it for a citywide music festival without any city property being involved.
This is just,
Madam Clerk,
The whole idea is to clarify when the music can be cranked to 85 decibels.
Okay,
And it is for officially approved music festival,
Only.
which was the thinking when the language was introduced in 2014, but it was just muddy enough that it was difficult for some people to grasp, that it was only for that specific thing. And so the whole purpose in going through this process is to delineate between when 85 is okay and when the normal limitations apply.
okay, it's, the question is not so much on the decibel reading, it's the definition of a city music festival. Can you have does a citywide music festival need approval, and if so, then will it fall under this?
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Mr.
I think what he's referring to, can it also be on private property? And it can, yes. It's public property and private property. The private property participates in many of the music festivals.
I know, but it seemed like it could only be considered a city-approved music festival if it included public property performances.
correct.
So how would a citywide, without public property being involved, be approved for a festival?
Well, I don't think they'd need to have an approval. Let's say Miss Lane and just has a band that's playing blues, and Chelsea has a blues band, and one of the other bars has a blues band, and they decide to call it a festival.
Okay?
I think that's where this applies here. And then we would apply for a, no?
No,
No,
I'm
that's where
confused
they're
too
at
then.
no,
65.
you can do whatever you want there.
Okay.
You're going to be inside.
But if I applied, I could get the 85 decibel.
No.
No, because it
No.
doesn't have any city
Yeah,
property involved.
it's not a city, I guess
This
Butch-
is so confusing.
Butch is
It's
a
not confusing.
city festival is something like the CAPC does.
It's like the folk festival.
Right, or when we had the blues festival or the jazz festival. People can come onto it and be part of it, but if I decide, like you and me, Adam, we're going to have, I don't know, Bachelor Week Festival, we're going to be at, yeah, let's go for it. We'll get Magic Mike, we're going to be at 65 decibels all over.
Okay,
But if it's like the folk festival, they get to do 85.
They get to apply.
Apply for 80.
for-
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Terry's got a question, and I have another one too, please.
Ms. McClung?
So I think the question is I think that if a facility wanted to call themselves or say that they wanted to have a citywide festival, but it may not be city sanctioned as far as, nothing on city property, no Basin Park, no auditorium, say it was all private venues, indoors and outdoors, but citywide. Can they not get approved as a citywide festival and have 85 decibel music?
No, sir.
Does it exist that way currently
No, sir.
under the existing ordinance?
Be 65.
Correct.
To me, that seems a little bit limiting, because, you can have there are enough places in town that might want to get together and have a citywide festival and have it be broadcast as the Eureka Springs XYZ music festival.
We're just talking about decibels.
Yeah.
We're just talking about decibels. We're not talking about saying, no, you can't have a
No,
party.
time out. I'm saying if they want to call it that, and have it be a music-wide festival, and it does not have citywide property in there, city property in there, then they can't get up to 85.
Right.
They have to stay at 65.
Right.
But it'd still be a citywide festival.
And-
Does that not seem a little bit limiting
No.
to those people that want to have a citywide festival that don't include any city property?
No, because if you did that, it would be 85 decimals, and people who live here would have to listen to it till midnight, and it could be every weekend. So I think that's why this is a safeguard. You know, people, when the folk festival comes, the blues festival, we know what's coming. Or I think it's just a safeguard for the residents of this town. 65 is pretty loud.
It definitely is. You'll lose hearing.
I haven't lost it yet.
It's not for my hearing purposes, it's for the matter of that having that exclusivity of it, you having to have city property for it to be considered a sanctioned citywide music
And it
festival.
goes on for several days.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that.
It's not a one-day thing.
I'm well aware of that, sir.
So, if the council wants to change it, that's your prerogative, but that's not what's on the ordinance, and it's not what's been on the ordinance. This has got to do with the decibels and the definition of what a music festival is.
It's just one section of the ordinance.
there's other sections.
Yeah, defining what a city festival is and what you can and can't do at it. And which is-
You're expanding off into something, Bill,
Yeah.
that we haven't addressed yet.
Right. If we
Well, I'd
wanted,
be willing to offer an amendment to say that a group of businesses could apply for a citywide music festival sanction to let them be eligible for this without the involvement of city property.
Madam Clerk, what are you getting ready to say here?
Two things. By not having a clear set of understandable rules, folks, they get upset when they think they're being not treated well. This is to make it so everybody understands what the rules are when with this exaggerated level of sound. The second thing is, if a restaurant in C1 or C2 has the requisite elements, they have an alcohol beverage license, they have outdoor seating, there's a checklist. When the renewal for the alcohol beverage licenses goes out mid-year, an application to apply for a year-long opportunity, $50, goes with that invoice. They send it back, so we know who all the likely players are when there is an approved music festival. The second layer to that has to do with making sure everybody's operating legally. There are very few opportunities when people who, for instance, haven't been paying their taxes can be pulled back in, and for them to go forward, they have to pay their taxes. This is one of those times. That application for that approved music festival, all those boxes have to be checked before that application goes to the department head meeting. And if there's a person who's 4 months behind in paying the alcohol beverage taxes and says, I'll be there next week, I'll be there next week, I'll be there next week, that is an opportunity to go, you're not fulfilling your obligation, so you will not have a permit for this amplified sound. It's one of the opportunities to help everybody play fairly. And this is merely clarification of what has actually been in code, but not easily comprehended by some folks. So this is really just for clarification. It's not changing any rule.
Well, I understand all of that, except that, if, let's say, 10 establishments that have everything else, all the other boxes checked, except for their citywide event does not include a public or city-owned venue in that citywide festival, then they would not be eligible for a citywide music festival. It'd be multiple days, it would be 10 locations. The only box that isn't checked is them having performances in a public area. That would deny them the opportunity to have a citywide music festival endorsement by the city. It could still go to the staff meetings and still get approved or disapproved by them. What I'm saying is, it just seems like if they didn't want to, or it wasn't conducive to their event to have it on a piece of city-owned property, that disallows them to have a citywide festival for multiple days, and therefore disallowing them to have that additional decibel rating for that event for those 3 days.
Mr. Mayor, I call the question.
I'll second.
All right, this motion been made to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I need a roll call, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Just a roll call, please.
Mr. Ott,
No?
Mr. McClung,
Yes?
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
5-1.
All right, motion's been made. Would you repeat the motion that's been made? Motion was made to,
Discuss.
or we need a motion,
No. We
now we need a motion to,
need a new motion, yes.
we need a motion to,
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2315 on its second reading.
By title only?
No, we've already
we've
done.
already done that. yeah.
Okay.
So this is just a motion
Okay.
to approve the ordinance on second reading.
I'll second that.
Well, the title hasn't been read yet. Terry moved to suspend. There was discussion.
We
It
took
was
the vote.
amended.
That's right.
And she got to read it.
Yeah, she didn't read it yet.
That's why I was asking what the motion was.
Okay.
Where are we on this?
That's what I was
To read, are we
confused.
calling,
All she has to do is read it. It's already been approved to read.
Ready?
okay, if
We're
that's
ready.
what we've done, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Ordinance number 2315, an ordinance amending Title VII of the Eureka Springs, Arkansas Municipal Code regarding sound generation in commercial zones.
All right. Now I need a motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McClung?
I make a motion we approve ordinance number 2315 on its second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, as amended, of course, but any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
6-0.
6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I don't think we made a motion to approve any amendments.
I said it as amended, I'm
I
sorry.
don't think we made any motions to approve it.
Yeah,
We did.
Harry-
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Let's see.
Harry did.
I did.
Harry did and Melissa seconded.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And it was 6-0.
Yeah.
Just confirming that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you made your motion, I said as amended, so, okay. All right. That takes us down to our second order of business, which is update on Basin Park Band Shell. Get a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right. We have Parks Director, Scott Misko is here to bring us up to date. I think he's the person who can help us out, and I think would answer a lot of the questions we have. In your packet, you do have some photographs that Mr. Misko has directed or given to us, so you want to kind of lead off and give us an update on Basin Park Band Shell?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Scott Miskell. I'm the Executive Director of Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission.
You're going to need to speak up or move there you go.
Very well. And I was asked to just give an update on the condition of the band shell in Basin Park. The first comment I'd like to make is we're looking at this as beyond just the band shell. The entire park needs extensive improvements and repairs and restoration. In fact, I just finished 2 or 3 days ago a request for proposals to seek architectural and engineering input on what needs to be done to completely do all of the repairs and restorations that we need. However, since I was asked to focus on the band shell, I'll just direct my comments to that unless anyone has other questions about the rest of the park. The photos that I have included, unfortunately, are not the best of quality. They were taken by our maintenance person who unfortunately had an auto accident and was home and had to take pictures of them with his phone and send them to me. That's why the quality is not the best. However, hopefully you can note on the first page that upper left-hand corner photo shows how the columns are slipping off their pedestals. The other photographs show gaps between the tops of the columns and the members that were bearing on those columns. The reason for that is they're settling towards the back end of the band shell, and that's causing the front end to lift up off of the supports that were originally there in the forms of these columns. The second page shows some interior photographs of some rot that's going on in the roof area as well as some of the other areas. The third page shows the space between the band shell itself and the retaining wall that surrounds it. That space is anywhere from 12 inches to approximately 16 inches. It fills with leaves and other debris, which causes rot and also further drainage problems. As we all know, the hillside at Basin Park is pretty steep. You get a lot of water runoff that channels down that hill, and unfortunately it flows over the retaining wall and fills this area around the perimeter of the band shell. I've been in there when it's raining and water literally pours through the area between the stem wall of the band shell and the base plate, which is the lower plate of the walls. That's causing rot, which is shown on the final page of photographs. So rot is being caused on the structural members due to the drainage situation. Unfortunately, there's no way to really repair this properly without very likely tearing down the entire band shell and rebuilding it. That's one of the reasons we opted to seek a request for proposals from an architectural and engineering firm to have them do that assessment. However, we've looked at that, 3 of us specifically with some construction background. Our chairperson is a former architect. Our maintenance person was a contractor for many years. I myself was in construction for years before going to law school, both as a carpenter and as an engineer's assistant when I was in the Air Force. So we all have an idea of where this is going, but of course we're at the point where we feel that it's necessary to have professionals assess it and determine is that in fact what needs to be done. I think the outcome of that is going to be that we do in fact need to completely rebuild that band shell. I think one of the big things that has happened over the last year is both the Commission and I have realized that we've been putting a lot of Band-Aids on things over the years, fixing things that are not a complete fix, and that causes us to maybe get a little bit of cosmetic improvement for a little while, but if we don't repair the underlying causes, then we're really not doing anything but deferring things. And that's happened throughout parks in many situations, as I think we're all aware. So we are in that position right now of just finalizing that request for proposals. It is complete, but being reviewed by our chairperson. I gave it to him this morning, and we hope to get that out within the next few weeks, and hopefully have some design professionals to give us some insight as to where we need to go. Again, not just for the band shell, but the entire park. That's being followed up, by the way, by 2 other requests for proposals for the dam railing that is just crumbling. In fact, doesn't exist in some places at all anymore. And the other area, the day use area at Lake Leatherwood City Park, to comprehensively design what repairs and improvements will be done over the next several years. So that's where we're going as far as these major improvements or repairs, restorations that we need to accomplish. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, sir.
The Basin Park, I mean, I believe it is the focal point of our downtown. It's our version of the square, so to speak, you know, and I believe that it is that for the city, and it's very important, at least in my eyes, to maintain the aesthetics that it has. So whether it has to be removed or it's able to be repaired, my thoughts are that it, stay the same in design and what's there, and, I'm not one for changes to the history of that location.
I would certainly agree, and I think the entire commission does, and
Good.
I think the rest of the city would likely agree as well. And I can assure you that, first of all, there would be nothing both in the design phase, the initial RFP is for an assessment, and then we'll go into the design. So the first thing we're doing is assessing what structural type repairs need to be done. So that will give us a better idea of what actually is going to be repaired versus torn down, for instance, and completely rebuilt.
And I also believe that it's not, the responsibility of Parks. It's not Parks' fault. I'm not going to place the blame on anyone. It's been going too long.
Yes.
Over too many administrations. It just has been ignored.
Yes.
And out of sight, out of mind on the backside, and it just kind of happened. So, but I think the city itself, has to have strong involvement in this. I'm sure financially, because it's not going to be inexpensive. But I don't expect the Parks to bear the burden. If you understand what I'm saying.
If the city's going to be involved in it also, and we're paying for it, we need to be involved in the decision-making.
Question.
Yes.
What is your guesstimate of timetable? When are you looking for RFPs to come in, for design to come in, approximate start date, whether it be demolition and rebuild or repair of it? What are you looking at timetable-wise?
Well, I always tend to be a little over-optimistic on those sorts of things. So take what I estimate and perhaps double that. But it goes to the comment that was made right before you asked your question, is that we do have to have a process that's public, allow a lot of input. We need the Historical Commission to weigh in on it. We will need public meetings, and that is all part of what will be included in the request for proposal, is we need to make sure that we have a firm that can assist us with that sort of thing.
So
That being,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
That being said, the request for proposal is prepared, just being reviewed to make sure that it will be something that we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's on. I would hope to have that out by certainly by December 1st. We would probably, typically you would have a month or two. It's a relatively straightforward request for proposal. There's only 4 items, as I recall, on it, and 4 phases. And so I would hope that we could have that within a couple of months And then the engineers and architects would do their assessment phase, which, face it, it's not that complex of an issue. We do have a few issues out there, but it's not like we have a lot of large buildings and whatnot that have to be assessed. We're talking about the band shell itself and the collapse that's taken place underneath the fountain area. And so I would hope that within 6 months, certainly no more than a year, again, I tend to be over-optimistic, so even if it was a year before we had a design, that is something that we will have to see what sort of time frame those professionals are wanting as well. One of the big issues that I've had lately is trying to get things like bids and proposals. We ask, and sometimes it'll take 2 or 3 months to get an estimate on something pretty basic, and something that should have taken a week is now taking months.
Yeah.
So I would certainly hope within a year that we would have a design ready to go, but then it's going to be a matter of how do we fund it, as has been mentioned.
And do you have a guesstimate of how long it would take from once all that's approved for the construction time? Is that 6 months? Is that a year for the completion of the project?
Part of that's going to depend on what the design is, but we don't anticipate major changes. It is a historical park, and it's not going to change very much other than being modernized, so it should basically look the same. That being said, it's not something like a large building that's going to take a long time to construct, but we have demolition that we would have to do of the plaza area, the walkways. There's concrete that's going to have to be demolished to be able to fix the tunnels or the water, the drainage problems that we have that have collapsed. So that will take some time. We've got to see what the professionals have to say.
Okay, because building on what Terry said, that with this being in the center of town, and that's a kind of a gathering area for visitors to our town, and also a lot of our events, utilize that space. I just didn't know how much time there would be taken out of that, and if it can be done, between major events or something like that, just so the city and our visitors would be inconvenienced the least during that construction time.
Absolutely. The reality of it is, if we're tearing down a building and rebuilding it, it's not going to happen overnight, of course.
Yeah, of
but
course.
It is a relatively simple structure. The other things that have to be done are excavating and correcting some drainage problems. That's not something that would take months and months, but it's something that will certainly take weeks and perhaps a month or so.
Okay.
Ideally, that band shell, theoretically, we haven't seen the design yet, but if everything is staged properly, we could conceivably have that done within a month or two. Again, I tend to be over-optimistic on things like that, so yes.
Traditionally, the financial burden would fall on parks, correct? Or, it's not a question. I mean, it's a question. I'm not sure who pays, and I do agree that the city should have something to do with it, and probably the CAPC, since we utilize it a lot too. Also, the HDC has many approvals for materials such as hardy plank, composite wood, that would help if you had to rebuild in a structure, or even patching would help.
Well, yes, typically that is something that the Parks and Recreation Commission would pay for. On the other hand, how do we pay for it?
Right, I guess that's the question I'm asking. Would traditionally, you would be on the hook for the financial part?
Traditionally.
Yes.
Traditionally. In reality, though, we don't have the funds to accomplish it. So we either watch it decay and
Right.
and fall down.
And that would be one of the worst things that could happen to the city. So
Exactly, yes.
I will ask that a discussion of it be put on our agenda on Wednesday at the CAPC.
Very well. And it might be time to have a joint workshop of sorts, maybe a little preliminary, or too preliminary right now to do that, but sometime in the near future, we perhaps should have a joint workshop where many of the various agencies or commissions, even representatives of the city council perhaps, but at any rate, more than just parks. It's not solely a parks decision. So
No.
that's something that obviously we need to get public input and input from the rest of the city. There's things that we could do there that would affect other people. Something that we do might affect how Public Works has to maintain something or how the water flows. Certainly those are things that engineers and architects will look into, but the people that it's going to impact, including local businesses, local residents, they all have to weigh in on it. How are we going to stage that to where it's minimally impactful to those people? That's something that remains to be seen.
Mayor,
Mr. Ott?
this may be something that we might want to, at least put a line item in our upcoming budget.
Well, I think we need to find out what's going on first before it's like you said, there's a lot of areas in there that I think we need to explore and see before we start.
Well, I'm not saying fill in the numbers, I'm just saying have a line in our budget where we can put that in there later, just so we'll be aware of it when it does come, that we've addressed that.
I think we'll be aware of it, Mr. Ott, without a problem. I mean, this is
Well, I mean-
something, what,
How much are we talking here? $500,000?
It
More?
could get to that,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then again, that's one of the reasons we are doing a request for proposals, so we can have an assessment first to find out what exactly needs to be repaired, and then we can figure out, well, how do we want to do it? Because there are ways to do it usually that are, everyone would like to see, all the bells and whistles and whatnot, and then when you look at the budget for that, well, you have to start striking things. So we'll have to see what we end up with. But that does need to be a public process, and will be, of course. It has to be. So we'll know the specifics, but I could see it easily being several $100,000, absolutely. But,
I think you're probably closer to $500,000
Oh,
with today's
yes.
COVID prices,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
at least.
just as an example, so we can all have this in our mind, the road has been closed out in front of Basin Park all day today and a good part of last Monday.
It's been awful.
Why is it? They are still there right now, or at least they were as of an hour ago. Why? Because the big tree that has been dying for years and years, it looks like it got hit by lightning years ago. The tree split open, rot starts to happen, and rather than doing it properly, because it was expensive for us to cut that down, we have to have a crane there, that's why the road is closed. But instead of doing it properly, somebody had the bright idea of filling that crack with concrete. And so now as we have somebody out there trying to cut this tree down and the cost of a crane and shutting down the road for all this time, they get to where 25 feet high down to the ground, this tree is full of concrete. So concrete and chainsaws don't mix very well. And I just use that as an example. We can't do those sorts of things anymore. We need to have it assessed, determine what do we really need to make sure that
Poor
we're not-
folks have poor ways.
what do we have to do to make sure it's at least 50 years from now before we have to close that road down for that type of maintenance again? Or to close the park down to do these types of significant repairs. So what's the old analogy, penny wise and pound foolish, or something along those lines? Maybe I've got that reversed. But that's the point, is we need to do this right. Have it properly assessed, properly designed, input from all of those that need to give their input, and then when we start the process, it'll be properly staged, it'll be properly repaired, and it'll be just minor routine repairs then for quite some time after that. But yes, this will be a painful process, unfortunately. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Misko. Appreciate it. All right. That brings us up to our last item is the resolution for the free December parking at certain meetings.
I'll make a motion that we discuss the resolution for free December parking at certain meters.
Move to discuss.
Yes.
All right. This is an item that we do every year around Christmas time. During the month of December, we promote free 2-hour parking along Spring Street and Main Street where all the parking meters are. And this is an effort to promote the businesses and shop owners there and through there. I don't know how long we've been doing this, for quite a few years, so that's what this resolution is about. Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we assign this resolution a number and read it for passage.
I'll second.
Mr. McClung made a motion, and Mr. Ott seconded, so any further discussion? All right, hearing none.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ott?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
6-0. Resolution number will be 809. A resolution removing the requirement of paying the parking meters on Spring Street and Main Street and establishing free 2-hour parking from December 1 through December 31, 2021. Whereas the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, in an effort to promote business for the city during the period of December 1 to December 31, 2021, desires to establish free 2-hour parking on Spring Street and Main Street for on-street metered spaces in Eureka Springs during the period of December 1 through December 31, 2021. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, free 2-hour parking is established on Spring Street and Main Street in metered spaces in Eureka Springs during the period of December 1 to December 31, 2021.
Thank you. That brings us to the agenda setting. Anybody have anything right now? All right. City Council comments. Mr. Ott, let's start on your end.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, I was really thrilled to hear that last night's performance here at the auditorium was a sellout. I mean, that says not only, wonderful things for the event itself, but also for our city. I know I had the pleasure of having my daughter and my son-in-law in town, and since they knew that parking would be a premium, I gave them a ride and picked them back up. I was a, unlicensed Uber driver last night, and we went to McDonald's to get a frozen beverage, and the lady there goes, "What's going on? There's so many people here. We aren't staffed for it." I said, well, they had a sellout event down at the auditorium. So it's wonderful things like that that really are a shot in the arm for our community. So kudos go out to the promoters and the planners for not only the weekend itself, but also last night's event. Since we're less than 1 month away, I wanted to remind everyone that on Friday evening, the 3rd of December, is our annual Christmas parade. So plan for that. It's going to be nice to have parade again, since we were disallowed that last year because of the COVID thing, which is very understandable. And also Santa himself will be in the park on the Saturdays of the 4th, 11th, and 18th. So if anyone would like to come and sit in Santa's lap, or just, you don't have to sit in his lap, just get next to him and give him your list of wants and get your picture made. But it's a festive time for downtown Eureka Springs, and so I would encourage everyone to come on down and have a good time. And it's so great that we have Christmas being celebrated with all our old events again this year. So thank you for that. And I've talked to Santa himself, and he's looking forward to it.
Thank you, Santa.
Thank you, Santa.
Mr. Roberts, welcome. Do you have any comments? And
It's good to be here. Thank you guys so much.
How do you like it so far?
So far it's good. I do want to make a
Initiation
note
chapter.
on this last thing we did for the parking. I wish there was a way we could prevent business owners from parking in front of their own establishment and blocking parking all of December.
Yeah,
That's
would
the
be
problem
nice.
with free parking.
yeah, yeah,
It's only 2 hours.
yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, the parking's only good for 2 hours, so then you got to move.
Or pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ms. Green?
I just want to say, welcome, Nick. Thank you for stepping up. I want to thank Ann. I know you've worked hard on that section of that ordinance, and, you know, we all love music. We're not trying to take music away from anybody, and we'll get through this, and, you know, if we want to change things in it, that's what we're sitting here for. That's what we were elected for.
All right. Ms. Lane?
I really don't have much, but thank you, Nick. Thank you, David. I know you weren't elected, but I truly wish you'd join the CAPC. Nick, we're so glad you're here. How
Thanks,
exciting. Yeah, yeah.
Honored to be
Welcome.
here.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Meyer?
Well, Nick, I'll be by for that free lunch you promised me.
Oh, I got a whole year.
Hey, where's mine?
I told him he had to bring
All right.
desserts to the
No more
council meeting.
comments.
Yeah, to Nick and David both, I appreciate you stepping up to the plate, and you know, it takes us all to make the whole thing work, it really does. And you know, I started out, well, whenever I came to town on the volunteer fire department a long time ago, and you know, just have participated at some level with the city ever since that, and it's important to give back to the community, and it's in fact it's critical. And you know, I'm sad about the Basin Park situation, that you know, that we just let it get away from us, you know, for the last probably 40 years. I mean, really, it just has not really had anything done to it, and it's sad, but it's being addressed now, and even if it's got to be a phased thing, that you know, we can do this and that, whatever it takes. But it's just such a critical thing to the city. I think it's a centerpiece of our table, and so I'm glad to see that it is finally going to get some attention. That's all I have.
Thanks. I have to reiterate a couple of things, what Mr. McClung was talking about with Basin Park. I grew up literally across the street from the Basin Park, and it is a focal point of our city, and it is a critical part of I drive by there every day, and I see people sitting in the park enjoying it and watching people. And it is time, like a lot of other parts of our infrastructure, we've just neglected them for so many years, not only Basin Park, but you know, our water and sewer and other facilities around here, our hospital and other things. But I am glad to see that the Parks Commission finally have, you know, decided to bite the bullet and see about getting something done, and I know the city's going to help in any manner that we can. Congratulations, Nick, on being appointed.
Thanks, Butch.
It's an exciting time, and it is exciting to be a part of the city council and being able to be a part of the making decision that's going to help the city. And I really appreciate David putting his name in, and I think it's so, as I mentioned earlier, so critical that our citizens do participate and not become apathetical about what's going on, because if you do that, nothing will get done, and that's what's happened for so many years. And we have a lot of the same people doing the same thing in the same group, and it gets, after a while, people get tired, and we need new blood and new people to come up, and I appreciate both of y'all and other people who put their names in, you know, including Jonathan Teagan and Randy Maddox. Both are, Randy's a newcomer into town and has been involved with the HCC, and Jonathan's, of course, his dad's here. But we need people like that to make Eureka Springs thrive. We're a unique city, and that's what we need to do, is keep being unique. So I appreciate it, and I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anybody...